Alright guys, Guns and Gear Network here, bringing you another video. This one is kind of special video, and it's about a little item I came across and thought it was pretty cool. And it is not this duffel bag, or at least it's what's in the duffel bag. This is a Bushnell Spacemaster spotting scope that at one time, and somewhere around in the 90s, was utilized by the SEAL sniper teams. And the reason I know this, I'm going to set this camera down, kind of focus it in a little bit here. I was doing some research, just looking at some videos and stuff like that on YouTube, and I came across a video about SEAL team training, and it was about sniper training in the SEAL platoons, and they was like at a school, and it was about it's like 30-45 minutes long, the whole video. One part of that was a classroom setting where they were going over equipment that they would be issued, and one of the things that came up was the spotting scope, and the instructor said that they used the Bushnell Spacemaster spotting scope. And I thought that was kind of cool, so I started researching a little bit and just seeing if that spotting scope was still available, if kind of what it was about and so forth. And they still make this spotting scope, but I'm not sure of the quality difference between, like I said, this looks like it was filmed right around in the 90s, mid-90s, and so I'm not really sure if any quality changes have happened and so forth, but at one time they were using this spotting scope, and I thought that was pretty cool. And so based on my research, I started looking for one from that era, that around the mid-90s mark, kind of finding the same one. And sure enough, I was on eBay looking and found a few of them, and the auction price range for these as cheap as $40-50 up to $300. And I kept watching eBay and finally came across one that I waited kind of the last minute to bid, just hoping I would get it at a reasonable price, and I did. I got this in particular one for $80 including shipping. And if any of you guys have priced any spotting scopes, the price of those can be pretty expensive, even for your entry level. You're pretty expensive sometimes, and they can get very expensive. So I was needing another one. I didn't really like the one I currently had, so I thought, well, I'll try one of these. And because obviously they've had some kind of extensive testing for the military purposes, either independently with the DevGrus, the SEALs, or the General Navy. I don't really know if any other units, Army, Marine Corps, so forth, have used these. But again, I do know that according to this video, this particular spotting scope they did use. So obviously at one time they thought it was good enough quality for their guys. So anyway, I bought one. What's kind of cool about this, it comes with this backpack here, and it has some pockets on the front, and then it unzips, and it's got cutouts, foam cutouts to keep it protected. And then on the back here, or on the top first, it's got a carry handle, and then on the back it's got shoulder straps, just like you see a traditional backpack. So, but here's the spotting scope, and you'll notice it is rubber armored in camo. And that's kind of a rubbery type armor around the outer portion of that. And this base that you're seeing here, this tripod, it obviously detaches and so forth, but originally from Bushnell, that was black. So I have since painted it OD green. I'm kind of OD green nut, don't ask me why, but anyway, that's I thought it looked a little better and I liked it, and so anyway, I painted OD green. But I'll show you some features. This in particular spotting scope, one of the cool things I thought about it, if anybody's ever looked through a spotting scope trying to find a target or so forth, because the magnification usually is so high, your field of view starts getting smaller. So this one, let me try doing this where you can see it. This one has this little peephole here, so you would get your target acquisition with this first to get oriented where your target was. And then you start looking through your ocular lens here. And so let's start back here with the ocular lens first. This is a protective cover that, and I'll turn it sideways maybe so you can see that, that is hard plastic and it unscrews. Then it also came with this little dust cover that just slides on. It's very loose fitting. It doesn't screw on or anything. It's just loose fitting. One thing I do a lot of times with a lot of my gear, if I think I may lose it or it's kind of small or so forth, I'll tether it somehow. And one method I found that I like for tethering is fishing line. And that's what I did here, so that I can just take it off and then let it hang. And you know, if you don't want it swinging around, you can wrap it up or do something with it. But anyway, that way if I don't drop that in the woods or so forth, and if it comes up a rain, I don't want to get my lens wet, I just slide that over it like that. So anyway, fishing line, I just poked a hole in it, ran it through the backside, tied a couple knots so the piece wouldn't pull back through, and that stays there. All right, so this particular scope, let's see if I can get this in camera. It goes from 15 to 45 is the zoom capability of this particular spotting scope. And it has a fine adjustment thumb wheel on the side here. It's kind of grooved, so it's kind of grippy. It's easy to get a fine adjustment with that. And then it's got an adjustment here. If you watch the scope as it goes, it's going up and going down. And then it's got that's for fine adjustment. Then it has a big knob here that you can unloosen to get more coarse adjustment. So if you want to start with it at a lower angle and then make your fine adjustments up and down and so forth. It also goes up taller than this based on this stem height here. If you look, there's a stem, and this goes up. You unloosen this, and it's got a locking collar here that you can raise and lower this. So anyway, it's great quality. The clarity's real good, and I really like it. And it's I was kind of glad I got it. But I bought this one for like $80, and I thought it was a great bargain considering what spotting scopes cost. Now Bushnell does still make this particular model. They actually have a Spacemaster, which is this one, and a Spacemaster 2, which is a little different. This current, the new version, I looked on the internet for you guys. If you want to buy a new one, they range, and I'm a little amazed how wild the prices range. It ranges from about $279, $275, somewhere around there, to almost $550, like $549. So why the price range is so varied, I don't have a clue, but it is. Usually if you see $40 or $50 within a product, that's kind of normal. People, you know, somebody on Amazon may be selling it pretty cheap. You know, somebody else may be selling it at normal retail on a regular basis, like maybe one of your big box stores like Gander Mountain or something. But anyway, I was pretty surprised why the wild variations. But even on the used market, I've seen them as low as 50. I've seen them as high as 300. And so even on the used market, these in particular ones are pretty broad in pricing. There's an older version. This has been around with a lot of revisions. At one time, they had one that was a little older than this one, that this entire casing, outer casing here was metal. And I'm sure this one's metal, but this one looked older. It looked like an older style, but it was similar in shape. Also, you'll also notice back here that it says Bushnell Spacemaster. And at one time, I know these were made in Japan. Whether they're still made in Japan, I don't know, because I don't have a new current model to compare it to. These do get fairly good reviews throughout your retailers that I've checked on the internet, and I think they're a pretty good bargain, especially if you can find one used. And I think it's a cool, neat piece of history to say this is the same spotting scope that the Navy SEALs used. So I think that's kind of cool to have that, you know, along with it. That's pretty cool if you can have that and a quality spotting scope for $80. Like I got it. You know, I would say the average that I saw on eBay on the used market for these, you know, $150. Now, I will say this, on eBay I did notice somebody will have the spotting scope but no base, or whatever the case may be. Well, don't shy away from buying it without the base, because If you look on eBay for Bushnell, and they may not call it the Spacemaster, but they just may call it a Bushnell because these are labeled Bushnell before the painting was on here. Tripod. So you may be able to pick up one of these separate, like say for $20, you may pay $60 for this, and somebody may not get a lot of bids because it doesn't come with a tripod. So you may be able to pick this up for $40, $50, and this one, this tripod for $20. So anyway, keep an eye on that if you want one, and I would highly suggest having one in your collection, especially if you can find one complete. I got lucky; mine came with everything but the original box. Came with a warranty card, original owner's manual, and then the backpack, and then of course the spotting scope. But anyway, guys, I just want to bring that to you. I thought it was a pretty cool, neat piece of Navy SEAL history, and something that's affordable that somebody could buy. That's the same equipment that they used at least at one time, and it's actually practical. It works great on the range and so forth. So anyway, I just want to bring that to you. As always, like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, post those below, and we'll be glad to try answering any questions. And I'll put some descriptions, and I'll also link to that video that I found on YouTube about this particular scope that they mention it, and I'll link that in the section below. So if you want to watch the video, you can see that, and then you can see where they mention in the equipment section about this particular spotting scope. As always, I appreciate it, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll bring you another video here shortly. Thank you very much.